Today, I'm joined by the founder of Chambers Media, a company that creates social videos for direct-to-consumer brands. They've worked with companies like Coca-Cola, Yahoo, Nordic Track, accumulating over 300 million in trackable sales and over 400 million views. He is on the Forbes 30 Under 30 for marketing and advertising. Travis Chambers, welcome to the show.
Hey, I'm excited to be here, man.
It's my pleasure. I love your work, love your videos. Cannot wait to get into the conversation. But let me start here with you, Travis. What's the most memorable video ad that you and your company produced?
Probably the Nordic Track treadmill dance. That was just such a huge scale shoot. We haven't done anything really that big of scale since. And we had 13 influencers, 50 treadmills. It was just monstrous and epic. We just haven't had a concept like that since that justified that type of scale. But that was fun. That was a really fun shoot.
Yeah, it's really cool the way you got everyone coordinated and rolling around. And like you said, one of the things I think is really impressive is the scale that y'all have implemented into a lot of your shoots. And it's really cool, really cool. What were and to kind of go in a little bit deeper into that, what are some of the components of that ad that you feel that made it really, really powerful?
The scale and the wow factor. Plus, it was a concept that had already been done by OK Go. So it kind of had already been proven to be somewhat of a viral concept. There was already kind of a nod to it in culture. And so everyone felt like it was familiar. Most people couldn't remember where they had seen it before. Of course, we did it far, far bigger. But I think it made people feel good. The reason, too, was Nordic Track didn't say, we need to make $5, $10, $15 million. All they said is we want to influence culture so that people think treadmills are not drudgery. We want to change the way people feel about the treadmill. So there was a very kind of qualitative goal there. Unfortunately, it did drive millions in sales, but the ask itself, I think, is what helped craft that idea. And back then, that was when we did a lot of viral video type stuff. And that was actually the first major production Chamber Media ever did. And it just happened to be one of our biggest scale type videos. But about a year after that, we started pivoting more to direct response. And with direct response, it's a little bit more spokesperson focused, a little bit more information focused. So you don't get really the same ability to do that. So even if you create some spectacle that's really big that captures people's attention, it's much more difficult to get people all the information they need in order to buy. So it was just that period of time where there was true virality happening, and we got to do something during that period of time.
Love that. Capitalizing on the native environment that you're on, whether that's YouTube, Facebook, what have you. So one of the things that you'd mentioned there a few times, Travis, was the way it made people feel, that feeling. So when you're creating a great ad, do you think it's more important to focus on the problem that you're solving, the solution that you have, or the feeling that someone gets when they walk away from watching that video?
One of the things that we've done that's very unique in advertising is we're almost always trying to get the laugh out of people. And the reason is it's very difficult to get people to laugh, which means it's not frequent that content has that characteristic to it. The other thing too is when people laugh, they feel good. And life is hard. People have a lot of difficult things to deal with. And when they're made to feel a little bit lighter, there's a feeling of reciprocation there where they want to give back. They want to purchase. They want to reciprocate that feeling. So that's been part of the reason that we focus so much on humor over the last few years. That being said, there's tons of different emotional triggers that you can pull. There's shock, there's awe with the spectacle, there's aspiration, wanting to be something. That I think aspiration is probably one of the most common emotions that advertisers use, such as Nike, GoPro, Red Bull. Wouldn't it be cool if I was like that person? Wouldn't it be cool if I could do those kind of things? Very identity focused. Yeah, so humor is just a very underutilized tool. And you do see humor a lot in some ads. I feel like it's less frequent lately. I feel like humor was more prominent 15, 20 years ago. than it is now. I don't know too if that's because Hollywood has changed. You used to have comedy blockbusters like Dumb and Dumber, Adam Sandler movies, Chris Farley movies. And that whole industry basically died in the last 15, 20 years once the huge production CGI movies took over. Kevin Hart, he's pretty much one of the only ones that has survived that phenomenon. So I think people miss that. I think there's just not a lot of as much comedy now. Now comedy's mostly TV shows, Netflix shows, and now you can't. You have to be so politically correct. It's even more difficult now to be funny than it used
no
to.
doubt. A lot of those comedians from 20 years ago, they didn't age well. Their jokes didn't age well. And do you think this kind of, it almost feels to me like there's a little bit of a resurgence for this comedy feeling though, that it's kind of happening now. I think of it again with, your Nordic Track video, nerd skincare. So you've kind of adding this comedy element. I'm also seeing it with like the Dollar Shave Club or even Old Spice are starting to implement these comedic elements. Do you think that's because they're trying to target a specific demographic that will respond to it? Or why do you think that you really focus on comedy, Travis?
So the internet itself was a very quirky, weird place as it evolved in its early days. The kind of people who spent a lot of time on the internet were people with strange senses of humor, oftentimes maybe didn't have enough other things going on in their life or weren't busy enough that they could just spend tons of time on Reddit and all these places. So in the early days of YouTube, this very, very strong quirkiness kind of defined the internet. Cat videos, Charlie Bit My Finger, Double Rainbow Guy, Chocolate Rain, all these early viral videos that happened. And mostly it was just because of the nature of how YouTube was built and the nature of that algorithm giving a lot of virality. But what happened is around 2014, 2015, YouTube shut off that virality. Reason being, there was just a lot more content. So it was much more difficult to choose something to rise to the top. Very competitive in that regard. And they also wanted to squeeze dollars out of advertisers. And by that point, a lot of brands had gotten tens of millions of views for free. And so they shut that down so that people would have to run ads and pay YouTube. They really just started to monetize, capitalize on that. That changed the culture because now you don't have people putting a significant effort into a viral video, something that's so funny, so unique, so unexpected that it goes viral. And what you're seeing now is now that that's completely died on Facebook and YouTube, you are seeing that happen on TikTok. And TikTok has its completely own culture and environment that's very Gen Y, and they have their own series of jokes. But I think what happens with us is when we make funny commercials in an ad, I think it reminds people of that style of humor. And, the largest purchasing power group is the older millennial, younger Gen X. That they're the ones that are spending the bulk of the money on e-commerce. I'd say in that age 30 to age 45.
Yeah.
That's over half of the purchases that happen on e-commerce. And they're all 90s. They're all 90s quirky Jim Carrey type humor people. That's what we grew up with. And I don't know if the younger generation is growing up with that. And then the older generation had a different kind of humor. Theirs was more of, Bonanza and MASH. And just a completely different, I Love Lucy, completely different type of humor. Not like
that slapstick style, right? Like us 90s folk yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So the humor got really weird for about 15 years, 20 years. And I think that's the reason that group responds to it so well.
Really, really interesting. So I think you've made a strong case for why advertisers should be implementing some sort of this slapstick style comedy and why it's, again, producing just millions and millions of views, millions and millions of trackable sales for your company. How can me, the average guy who's trying to sell, let's say, muffins from my bakery, what are the key components that I should focus on trying to create a video that's going to give me that virality or that comedic effect? Walk us through some of the important concepts.
So the number one characteristic that we have found, and I've been really thinking about maybe writing a book about this, is unexpectedness. I think it's the most underrated, less known characteristic that makes things work. If you read a book like Made to Stick, you learn that things that people remember are things that confuse them, and that by the end become relevant. And there's a lot of books written about like the purple cow. You don't pay attention to a cow, but you pay attention to a purple cow. What we've learned is sometimes it doesn't even matter how good, how funny, how relevant what you're doing is. Sometimes it's just the randomness of it is what gets people's attention, to where it just, there's no reference to what this thing is. And we've gone back and looked at our most successful ads. They all have a huge sense of randomness to them. Now, granted, we have a pretty interesting case study or a set of cases to look at, because I haven't wrote all of the ads we've made. I've probably wrote or concepted about half of them. And I'm a very random person. I was on Ritalin until college. It's just part of my personality.
Sure.
When I infuse that, and by the way, my randomness is not always a hit at social situations or in conversations with people. It's often so left field that they're just like, what? And it's like, this guy's weird. I don't understand what he's talking about. He doesn't fit into my like keeping up with the Joneses box that I've created for myself. He's not obeying the social cues that I like to obey. Right.
Yeah.
But when that's in an ad, it works because it just jolts people out of whatever they're doing. So if you're at a bakery, what you have to do is not necessarily be the funniest. You don't have to have the best jokes. What you have to do is be the most unexpected. And
I love that. That's
unexpected is extremely difficult because our whole lives we're trained to follow patterns and programs, and we're supposed to learn the way things have been done. And so it takes a very rebellious personality to do that. And so if you are a bakery and you want to make something unexpected, find one of the weirder, more rebellious, social outcast, out of the norm people you can, and work with them on a script and bring whatever they're saying into reality to make it relevant. But try to do something that's just, the stranger it sounds when you say it, the better concept it's going to be. So a good example is pool fence DIY. It's a fence that goes around your pool. What kind of concept can we make that's going to make someone care about that? Obviously, we can't just make people afraid, and we can't say your kids are going to die if you don't buy this.
Right.
We don't like fear-based advertising. We like reciprocation-based advertising. We want our ads to contribute something to the world, not take away. A lot of those advertisements have caused eating disorders, mental illness, all of those things. So with pool fence, we said, well, let's take an Amish couple who has 50 children and they're trying to keep them out of the pool. Now, that's not very relevant to anyone. Someone you might look at that and say, well, that's an Amish couple. I'm not that. So, but what happened is it's so strange and outlandish that people really enjoy that ad. And frequently people say it's one of their more favorite ads. But when we first had the concept, it was just like, whoa, that is way out there. That is completely out of left field. And I think that's the reason that it worked.
What I love about that particular idea too is when I think unexpected, I'm thinking we're going to give this long drawn out storyline. Then all of a sudden we're going to flip the script at the last minute or the last second, which you've probably lost a lot of your audience. But what's great about that is you're introducing these two interesting carriers and all their crazy kids from the very beginning. So that kind of leads me into my next question here is how can we hook our viewer right off the bat? You know, what's another example of how we can hook someone quickly?
There's a lot of ways to do it. One way is a question that someone really wants answered and you don't answer it till later in the video. Another one is a visual spectacle that's just shocking and jolting. It's like watching a car crash out of the corner of your eye. You have to look. It demands your attention. Another one is is a teaser. So one of the elements we use in all of our videos is a teaser. And so you have the hook. The hook is usually a very low sophistication thing. When you think about a hook, you're thinking about the guy on the street who's doing a sign toss.
Yeah. Yeah.
The guy on the street who's in a stupid costume that's just annoying, or flashing lights on a sign or a billboard. It's just, hey, look at me. It's irritating. It's disruptive.
Yeah. Or someone just saying, stop your scrolling. Look at this. Yeah. I kind of dig what you're saying. Yeah. Okay. Go on.
It bothers you.
Yeah.
And it's very simple. And you never really need to get too advanced with that. But when it comes to the teaser, that's where it gets more sophisticated. So you have to hook someone in that first 3 seconds. But a hook is just not enough. A hook is maybe going to get you 7 or 8 seconds. You got to have a teaser. And every good show, every good movie does this. In the movie Lost, they set up a teaser at the beginning where there's a plane crash and all these mysterious things happen on the island. You don't find out why those mysterious things are happening till like 8 seasons later. And you start getting into that show and you're like, I'm 7 seasons of this. I have no idea why I'm watching this. And J.J. Abrams, director of Star Wars, Lost, a bunch of other shows, he calls it the mystery box. You have to put a box in front of people that they're hoping is going to be opened. It's the reason that gold mining shows and treasure shows do so well on the Discovery Channel. Just watching these guys dig and dig and dig and dig. And 90% of the time, they don't find anything. They spent $1 million to mine $50,000 worth of gold. For some reason, we are all programmed with this delayed gratification thing where we want something to happen and we crave waiting for that thing to happen. They say that part of the reason Chick-fil-A is so successful is they're not open on Sundays. So people want Chick-fil-A on Sunday. They can't have it. So they eat twice as much of it the next week. And so that's what you do with an ad is you create a teaser that creates curiosity or a need to find resolution, but you don't give that to them till a minute, 2, 3 minutes in. We crave resolution. We hate things that are not resolved. It drives us nuts. It's the reason something in a TV commercial, something on a TV show always happens and then it goes to a commercial and you have to wait to see the next thing. Or it's the reason every TV show ends on a cliffhanger and it says to be continued. So ways you can do teasers is you can do it overtly. You could say, stick around for 30 seconds, because I'm going to tell you why. Mr. Cool, our spokesperson, says, I'm the coolest guy in the neighborhood. In about 30 seconds, I'm going to tell you why. Now, that's one of the weaker hooks we've used as far as a teaser goes, but it still worked.
I like that because that's something that basically anyone can do. I'm sure a lot of people that are watching or listening are like, I'm not that creative. I don't have a team, but I really like that Mr. Cool example. It's something that's very actionable that just the average person could execute. What else you got? What else you got there, Travis?
Yeah, you can use that one on any video at any time. Stick around because in 30 seconds, I'm going to prove, I'm going to show you. And by the way, we've done research on copy in ads. And the number one performing copy of all time for any ad or any email is, I'm going to prove it to you. I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you why, da-da-da. I'm going to prove to you why, da-da-da. What it does is it sets up a dissonance. It sets up a challenge. And people like to disprove things. They really enjoy it. They enjoy being skeptical. And so when you say, I'm going to prove it to you, you set up this challenge and they now you have to convince them. And what you did is you just created a game where they've decided they're not going to be convinced and they're going to pay attention to see if you can convince them. So it's a total reverse psychology thing. Another thing that we've done is the visual teaser. So in Transparent Labs, we have 2 giant blenders. And he's like, I'm gonna set off these giant blenders. But that doesn't happen until 3.5 minutes, 4 minutes into the video. You just see these giant blenders and you know they're gonna get turned on. And it's just gonna drive you nuts if you don't get to see these things turned on.
Yeah, I'm with you there 100%. Yeah. I mean, do you feel like that almost when you build up that anticipation that if by the end of the ad, you really need to deliver? Or, I mean, obviously when you've got giant blenders and you've got this large budget for these large companies, you don't have a problem with that. But do you ever worry that maybe I won't be able to deliver that promise by the end?
Yeah, but by then it doesn't matter because now they've watched 2 or 3 minutes or 1 minute of video.
Love it. Yeah.
So whether it's resolved or not, at that point, you've gotten the message and the sale through. Yeah. So you're almost less concerned. And I don't know. I think people kind of enjoy being taken for a ride, even if there's not a full payoff there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think what's really interesting, and I've seen this trend throughout the industry, is you're not really advertising. Because like you said, you don't want to be the flashing lights or the guy with the sign. You don't want to advertise to people. You want to take them through this story. You want to give them something unexpected, right? You want to keep them hanging on, chasing that carrot. That's really interesting.
Just to add, yeah, you want to create reciprocation. That's the ultimate form. A majority of ads are trying to take from you. You know?
Yeah.
That's the reason. That's the reason discounts work so well, is because a discount creates reciprocation. But people in LA see they're exposed to over 1,000 promotional messages a day. Mm. And in the 1800s, people are exposed to 2 to 5 a day. So people are completely exhausted with inputs and with, all of this stimulation. It's constant.
Yeah.
So whenever you can offer a value before they take any kind of action, that's the purpose of the entertainment. And for some reason in the 21st century, we all want to be entertained at every second of the day. And so that's what most ads don't do. Most ads are going for the throat as far as direct response goes.
Yeah.
Late night infomercials, all this stuff. They're going for the throat. They want you to do something. It's like your father-in-law trying to tell you what you should do for your career, or your parents trying to tell you what you shouldn't do. You're going to do the opposite of whatever you're told to do. And so it does create this, it's like in dating, trying to text them a billion times right after you met, rather than waiting a few days to text them. And so it's more of a relationship play. And Facebook has created that with all the ways that the ads work. So you got your prospecting ad, gets them all the information. If you're going to make them laugh or feel some kind of emotion, they'll feel like you have given them something and not just demanded to take something. Mm-hmm. And then you work them progressively through all the retargeting ads. Then you do more information, more education. And then eventually you have your really hard-hitting closer ads like everyone else has. Your urgency play, your fear play, your FOMO, you got to do this now, da-da-da-da-da. But by then there's a relationship, so you're allowed to ask and demand those kind of things.
Love it. Yeah, they're familiar. You're retargeting them. You're probably retargeting based on how long they're watching your ad, and maybe if they liked it or engaged with it. I really like that. And I just want to put this out there for everyone listening, because Travis has given you he's giving you the tools to be successful, but there's a lot more information on his website, chambermedia.com. So definitely make sure you visit Chamber Media, because his blogs are really, really good. Really, really good.
Another thing too is there's these two disparate worlds. The Nike world is, let's entertain you, but we'll never, ever ask you for anything, ever. Mm-hmm. So they make these very emotion-centered commercials, and that works if you're a Fortune 500 brand, because your brand is so well known that all you need to do is continue the relationship that has already been established by everyone who knows what Nike is. It's more important to make people feel something and to let them know what they should feel when they think about Nike, because people are going to buy Nikes no matter what. So it's more of a volume play, more of a branding play. But
yeah, when I think of Nike, I don't think of shoes. I think of Michael Jordan jumping up and, kissing the World Cup, the cup and all that. I don't think about shoes so much as I do that feeling of watching him hit those jumpers or the flu game and whatnot. Yeah.
They don't sell on features or benefits. They sell on feeling. And the problem with that strategy is that most smaller multi-million-dollar companies think that that's the way they advertise, and it's not. They cannot afford, they don't have the market share to advertise that way. Branded entertainment is not going to bring them the ROI that they need. They'll run out of money. It takes tens of millions of dollars to have a nationally established brand that 1 in 10 people on the street could recall. It takes tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars. Most e-commerce brands don't have that. And so 30 years ago, if you didn't have that, you couldn't start a company because you couldn't afford to run on the big 4 TV stations. Forget about it. Hire a bunch of salespeople and have them cold call all day. So what social media has done is it's merged the world of the infomercial and the world of the Nike commercial. And it's made it so you can do both. And it's very difficult to do a high emotion sell on a 30-second TV spot and actually provide information. There's just not time. So with Facebook now, you got your 45, 1 minute, 2 minute, 3 minute, 4 minute, 5 minute. You got as much time as you want to do all of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Or like you said, you can take them through this retargeting journey through these various videos and email campaigns and whatnot. So Travis, what is an anchor video and why should every brand have one?
Yeah. So an anchor video is everything that we've just explained. It has a hook, a teaser. It has a problem and a solution, has some kind of hook, and then it has calls to action woven throughout the video. It could be 40 seconds long. It could be 5 minutes long. It just depends on however long it takes for you to give enough information. It does not have to be high production. It does not have to be expensive. But what it has to be is it has to be engaging. It has to maintain people's attention. And the best way for me to explain what an anchor video is when you walk into Costco and there's a guy selling knives and there's a guy that's just droning on about why these knives are great, why they're important, why they cut better, why they're better quality, droning on. You just keep on moving.
Yeah, yeah.
Whereas imagine Chris Farley selling you knives in Costco. You're not really paying attention to the knives. You're paying attention to Chris Farley because he's flipping them everywhere like Beverly Hills Ninja. And he's making jokes about his mother-in-law and he's connecting with you and he's relating with you. And whether he's funny or not, he's engaging you. And the longer he engages you, the more you start to consider. And while you're sitting here considering because you can't leave, you start to get the information and you start to convince yourself that this is something that you should buy. And all of a sudden you're buying knives that you never knew you wanted in the first place.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's just
the good back
sales tactic.
Yeah. So one of the videos that you've created, this Nerd Skincare, does that, I think, really brilliantly because you're just watching this beautiful woman talking about soap, basically, right? Not a super interesting topic, but then you've got good bacteria versus bad bacteria having a battle, and it's very cleverly done. If there was any video that you've done that you're really proud of that is just a really solid anchor video, I'd love to link that here in the show notes. Anything you can think of in particular, Travis?
Nerd Skincare. That's one of our most famous ads. It has some of the most views. It's one of the most recognized videos that we've ever made. People love that video. We have people, that video is about 4 years old and we still get people that reference it. Yeah, and a big part of the reason is the spokeswoman, Laura Clary, is one of the most talented writers and actors I've ever worked with. She's just a genius. And I wrote the concept, the framework, the messaging, the scenes. She came in, added all of her jokes and her personality, kind of put her soul into this ad. And then her delivery is incredible. And it's so relatable. And that's the thing is there's all these elements outside of humor. Relatability is one of the most, by far, most important. If I can relate with you without making you laugh, you have almost the same emotion where I'm still lightening your day. I'm making you feel better. I'm making you feel like I'm being empathetic to you, that I understand your situation. It makes you feel good in the same kind of way. And that's one of our favorite things as humans is relating. and people that relate with us. It's opening up. It's saying, oh man, we're in this together. This sucks. This thing is horrible. This thing is awesome. Don't you hate it when, don't you da-da-da. And so that's why that relatability works so well. And Laura did a really good job at relating to what it feels like to have acne. And it was on such a deep level that almost every woman in America who watched that has acne thought, oh, yes, this is exactly what it's like. Exactly what it's like. If they know what it's like and they know how bad it is, they probably have made something that works. Yeah. I'm going to buy it.
Yeah. Love that. Love that. Relatability, man. There's so many different keywords here and obviously kind of complex. There's a reason why you've been doing this and been so successful over the past several years. So Travis, I know that during the COVID-19 outbreak, y'all have scaled back your ads. So you're not doing these huge production ads. You're doing more small ads. So if someone's interested in working with you, where can they find you?
Go to chamber.media and you can click the contact page and you can get in touch with us. We still are shooting about 4 huge anchor video productions a month, but we're also doing 150 productions on the micro scale. So, where our high production videos are $85,000 and up, we now have micro video options that are as low as $1,200 a video. We've got $3,500 a month packages. We've got $7,000 a month packages for creative. So what we've done is we've tried to take you have your anchor videos for prospecting. That's the first thing you want people to see. We've also developed a mini anchor package. It's $30,000 and you get a mini anchor video. It's a lower production video that's highly engaging and informational, done on a smaller budget that has a bunch of retargeting videos underneath it. But these micro videos that we're making can significantly scale your ad account. These are things like how-to videos, testimonials, before and afters, side-by-side comparisons, unboxings. And there's a lot of science to what we figured out. We took the last 5 years of creative that we've made, spending $50 million in ad spend, driving over $320 million in tracked revenue. We took all these assets and we put it into a database, and we called it the brain. And we categorized all these pieces of creative by an ad type title, by the performance that they get, and the return on ad spend that they get, and where they best worked in the funnel. And we were able to narrow it down to 7 types of ad categories that are most likely to scale an account. So what we're able to do now is we're able to look at an ad account and just based on historic data by that category, that product category, we're able to say, this account is lacking in these types of ads. We're going to go make all these types of ads. Some of them are going to work. Some of them are not. And for the ones that work, we're going to double down and make other variations of these ads. So for an unboxing, you can have hands only. You could have a spokesperson. You could have a stop motion animation. You could have it showing up on your doorstep. There's literally 10 different ways to do an unboxing. And so we've identified what all those ways are. And so when we do these micro videos that are more lower budget, it makes it so we can scale accounts before you put a lot of money into the bigger productions.
Absolutely love it. And I think that it's something that everyone should at least go look, check out your blog, check out your work, let the experts work for you. Absolutely crucial. So before I let you go here, Travis, I got a couple rapid fire questions for you. All right. First one here. What's an item that costs less than $25 that every business owner should have?
I'm going to say Adobe Creative Suite.
Love it. It's definitely something I use on the regular. Perfect.
Get a subscription to Adobe Creative Suite so that you can create images, edit photography, take product shots, make content for your Instagram, for your Facebook. If you don't have that, you're going to be dead in the water.
I'm with you there. It's kind of that very versatile, very versatile, does a lot of different things for you. What's your favorite podcast to listen to, Travis?
Joe Rogan.
Good deal. Just signed with Spotify.
It's my guilty pleasure. It's my man, Oprah.
Yeah. And you're not gonna be able to see him on YouTube pretty soon, all Spotify. So that's pretty interesting.
He's sick of that censorship
Yeah, yeah, I can't blame it. That's a really interesting play by Spotify too, because I don't think of them as video, but now they're implementing that video program. So that's something to watch, I think, very closely.
Such a genius move. Everyone is so sick of YouTube and Google thinking they have the moral authority to what we should and should not see.
Yeah. Yeah.
Disinformation is disinformation. You can't inhibit the flow of disinformation. That's just not free speech. Because who decides what disinformation is?
That is the dilemma. Yeah, tricky thing to go through. But I think it is a good thing that we have diversified platforms. We'll see how it plays out. It's a very interesting move. If you're waking up in the morning, Travis, and you can only execute one business task for the day, what would you do?
Make a phone call to someone that might buy something.
Love it. And my final
every time I've had an opening in the early days and I had to decide what to do, every time it was make a phone call and talk to somebody about anything, whether it's networking, trying to sell something, whether trying to find talent, it's just call people for no reason. Just call them.
Love it. You might watch out. I might be calling you pretty soon. Who knows?
Dude, I'll pick up.
I appreciate that, Travis. Final question here for you, Travis. If you had a billboard message that was going to reach millions and millions of people, what would you put on that billboard?
I'd probably put up a billboard that says "Stop whining." It's like everyone in our culture is so whiny all the time. Like, oh, my water heater is not hot enough. My house isn't the right temperature. It's just like, go live in the wilderness for 5 days.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We've progressed so far that we've lost all touch with the earth, with reality, with the realities of predators and prey and shelter and food. And we've lost our agricultural roots. Humans have been agricultural people for tens of thousands of years. For the first time ever, we're not evolved for it. There's too much information. There's too many things that don't bring us any value as humans. So we got to stop whining. We got to get perspective of what the laws of earth and nature really are, because we've gotten completely separated from that. It's built within us. It's biological. It's part of our evolution. We fear certain things. We're drawn towards things, and everything that we do is survival based, including tribalism. And I'm right, you're wrong. We're better, you're worse. And in a way, we've just lost touch. The industrial age has dehumanized us. So that's my whole thing, is like, stop whining and really start thinking about what reality really is outside of this false reality that we've created.
Yeah. Stop whining. I love that. Gratitude. If you can find gratitude, you are going to have a much happier and more pleasant life. Love that. Travis, thank you so much, brother.
Thank you. Those are great questions. Thanks so much.